ladies and gentlemen and ladies, girls and boys and girls. Welcome back to our channel, Inspirational Minutes with David. If you made it this far in the beginning stages of this video, hit and smash the subscribe button. Smash it like right now. Smash right now. And hit the bell notifications. Hit the bell notifications. It will remind you when it's time to gear up and get that mind to think and sure, just talk with us. Inspirational Minutes with David. Today's topic. Our topic today. I'm gonna talk about 21 ways to start an agenda. You know, we are in neurologies, and it plays a big part. The number 21 is a very important part, especially in America, because at 21 you become an adult. From 0 to 7 you're a child, and you pretty much your brain is like a sponge. You have a lot of critical thinking. You ask mom, or you ask dad, or you ask your grandparents. When you flush the commode at 0 to 7, I guess around 5, 6, 7 years old, mama, where does the water go when you flush the commode? You know, you're a critical thinker. You want to know about the world around you and all the things around you, the people around you. You want to know why. You always question why. You're always asking why. From 7 to 14, now you're in adolescence. You are considered like 1 foot in as a child, another foot in as an adult, and you begin to wrestle with that. Physically and mentally, there are changes. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, there are changes going on in your little life, in your little world, and you begin to know yourself. You know, oftentimes, especially here in the States, you're either in the 9th grade, freshman, or you're a sophomore, 10th grade, and you're really learning about people, different cultures, and different people. You begin to learn a lot about yourself. From 14, 7 more years from that, it's 21. And that's where we're gonna stop at. That's where we're gonna hold it right there. We're gonna talk about what goes on at 21 and the agendas of 21. So it's properly titled 21, Agenda 21. So let's get right to it. They may have put out the ultimate Jedi mind trick. The gullibles and those who choose not to think for themselves, are being herded, like I always tell them, being herded into something they were told is for their health and safety, when actually it's the opposite. Words have power. That's why it's called spelling. It casts spells. I mean, really, come on, people. You can't just make this shit up. The crazy part about the Jedi, J-E-D-I, mind trick is that they plan to store the newly created transhuman biometric data, monitoring, and eventually house their virtual consciousness. So let's back a little bit, because this sounds like some Star Wars, or some, this sounds like something that's in the future when it's right now. You've been set up for it. It's the part of the Agenda 21. Okay? So it's like, can you imagine? You're leaving this body, you're dying, you're dead. But they have learned to store your data, your consciousness, which would be patent in the cloud, that you can live forever. Think it's a joke? On cloud servers, such as the Jedi Cloud, which Microsoft Azure won the government contract for. Wow. And all people in the world, all other companies in the world, Microsoft won the contract for it. The Joint Enterprise Defense Infrastructure, JEDI, contract is a large United States Department of Defense cloud computing contract, which have been reported as being worth like 10 billion with the B, 10 billion in October 2019. Check it out. research it, and was announced that the contract was awarded to Microsoft. Out of all people, is it beginning to make sense now? Is it beginning to circulate in your mind? Are you beginning to see? Are you beginning to see the certification of vaccine ID? Pandemic, scamdemic, led by B. Hates, who's not a doctor. Like me, I'm not a doctor. He's more of a doctor. He's just as much of a doctor than I am. I have an MBA, owner of Microsoft. You see, I was banned a few weeks ago. The same things I'm talking about right now. I was banned. They shut me down for a couple of weeks. They said the topic was too much. And when it's too much, I mean it's too true. Shut your ass down. Spank you a little bit, fly optician. Please don't wake up to people. Please don't. See, the push and bribery to get everyone vaxxed. Everyone vaxxed with experimental, toxic, oh my God, injections that contain, but not limited to, and equal to, or equivalent to, an operating system, software. Like I said in the video before this one, memory, M, small m, look it up, small m, R, N, A, gene editing, luciferase, Luciferase, lupad nanoparticles, technology, lupad, luciferase, light barrier, Lucifer. The game is real. It's funny. Sometimes it's a joke, but the truth is always in the joke. To reset the lower class, Agenda 21, human species into becoming a more easily controlled transhuman hybrid species of their true selves. A mad scientist project. A mad science, a world experience for those who want to play God. See, this is what super villains like B hates. You hate humanity. You want to depopulate humanity. Klaus Schwab. Yeah, check them out. And organizations like, World Economic Forum. WHO. WHO, check them out. United Nations. The Vicodin. The Vaccine. The bankers. Big Pharma. Elite bloodlines and technocrats. They have been planning for decades. This ain't no movie. Ain't no movie better than the movie that we're currently in right now. Ain't no damn movie drama better than the movie we're living in currently right now in our lives. Where the sheepiest of all sheeps, the sheepiest of all sheeps, the sheepiest of all sheeps are completely oblivious to any of that. Oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. He's kind of loony. He's kind of crazy. No, look up and research it yourself. I'm just telling you the things that I have researched. I'm still stuck on that critical thinking stage as a child from 0 to 7. Why? Mom? Why G-men? G-mint? Why? They were told to be afraid of a V. Wear a mask. 2 now. It'd be 3 or 4 next week. And to take the vax. stay safe. Agenda 21 is in full effect. I was watching, I don't know if you guys and girls ever be on YouTube and heard this guy called Vernon Coleman. They call him the old man in the chair. And I was listening to some of the facts and data that he has accumulated over the years about Agenda 21. I think I saw a video the other day. He was saying that people have always wanted to take over the world for centuries. I mean, this is nothing that's new. This has been going on for a minute. He goes on to say you could probably trace the ideal of world government back to the Garden of Eden if you had the time and the energy. But in practical terms, he thinks that the evil plan for a global reset, a new normal, can really be traced back to 1909 when it was first suggested that the far easier to control people, you have a good long war going on. See, this is when they was having population control through wars. You know, you had the World War I, World War II was a brink of World War III. Then we had the Vietnam War. We had all types of wars. The Gulf War. You know, the Desert Storm War. All wars. Wars were created at that time, misled the people into to build jobs, population control, all at the same time. This was long before Orwell, of course. Orwell. And he goes on to say in that video, he said, we can jump to 1932, when the people of Columbia University had the idea of introducing energy as a new currency. Wow. What you think? Could you thunk? They came up with the word technocracy. 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 The idea that the world would be a much better place if it was ran by scientists. Mad scientists. The technocrats wanted to abolish private property and change education so that it merely prepares students for work, to make them human robots. Don't teach them anything about being an entrepreneur. Teach them to be workers. To prepare students for work that had been selected for them by people who knew better. So what they're saying that, zero or kindergarten through 12 to teach you to be a worker, to live and build someone else's dreams. Yeah, I'm part of it too. I'm part of it. Before I became awakened. I mean, I was going through the video and I was laughing so much because he the way he was talking about it in the video, like, it was so, like, calm and, not all the jumping and, like I am, because I get so passionate about this. And he goes on to say, and when we jumped to 1961 with a bunch of Kennedy administration insiders, most of them Bilderbergs, check it out. They unearthed the old idea of using war to keep people under control. After much thought, however, they created a twist on that idea. They thought it would be a damn good wheeze to create massive worldwide population. And then blame the citizens of the world. How convenient. Blame the citizens of the world for the mess. And then make them clear it up. If you're beginning to get the idea, you know where this is going. You're right. And you are. You're right. As he goes on his video, the next things that happened were the formation of the Club of Rome in 1968, the formation of the World Economic Forum in 1971. The Club of Rome was formed by a mixture of United Nations administrators and rich businessmen. The World Economic Forum, the band of unelected sanctionists, networkers who hold their silly Beano in the Davos every year, wasn't called for that then. And then in 1976, there was another move toward what would be known as the topic of our discussion, our inspirational minutes today. Agenda 21. You see, the United Nations decided to take control of the world's land and to control the world's population. They didn't want to buy the land. They said they're just going to just deboat the land, take control of it, take control of the world's land, and control the world's population. The plan, created by a bunch of unelected, interfering clowns, was put to the rights of the community over the rights of the individual. They used to be called communism, but they drained up the same communism-ism, which is much fun to spell as it is to say, he'd say. And things began to move so rapidly after that. It began to move quickly. Now, as we go through this time travel, we're going to give you just a little bit of his story about Agenda 21. So in 1980, they invented the idea of sustainable development. 2 words that ought to strike terror into the hearts of anyone who cares about people or the world, integrity, respect, and our environment. And in 1983, they set up a commission. They set up a commission to prepare us all for NWO. The New World Order. The New World Order. And for the best part of the decade, they're all still just fumbling around like teenage boys at a dance. And then in 1991, the Club of Rome, which you remember, if you've been paying attention, as he goes to say, decided they needed to find a really quizzical way to motivate and distract the masses. So they dug around with a total lack of imagination and came up with global warming. Oh, fam, you remember that? How they talked about that in the mid 90s and late 90s? Al Gore, global warming, that the world was getting too warm and it was going that the Mother Nature was going to literally turn against herself and destroy all mankind. Oh, you didn't forget, did you? You forgot? Now, global warming has been toyed with a threat since the 19th century, but every time anyone has suggested that the planet was getting hotter, it quickly became apparent that the idea was a load of BS because it wasn't. Oh, do your research and check it. It's not a joke. The Club of Rome, he goes to say, put a twist of this old bit of nonsense. They said it was all our fault. It's our fault. Our fault. Our fault. Me, yours, us, the world, the people, the population. It was our fault. Look into my eyes. It's our fault. Because we had caused the global warming, which wasn't there anymore than it had been in Queen Victoria's day. The game is real, people. And then in 1992, the United Nations had a conference in Brazil, and Agenda 21 was born. Agenda 21 was born. And this is something that I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to give you scare tactics, but Agenda 21 is based on actual resolution from 1992, and it's aimed at the sustainability movement. In other words, global reset. See, this was the story of a real red-blooded takeover Jedi mind trick to say. The beginning of the end of the individualism. And before you can say Bill Clinton, before you can say, or even Al Gore, in a DVD which will get 3 out of 10 for accuracy, the world was set to change. Loads of big hitters, he was telling us in the video at this point, came at this point. Prince Charles, son of Queen Elizabeth, and the famous Mozart for having large ears and talking to plants. The truth is in the joke was one of those who saw this as a quick way to become terribly important in the world class. Hypocrite. He goes on to say it was clear that there was a ton of money to be made out of carbon trading. Completely nonsensical piece of chicanery, technology, which changed absolutely nothing except the size of the bank balances of people running the carbon trading scam. So we all been played, man. We're like on a big chessboard, and we've been, we're the pawns. We've been played. We've been duped. And playing to dumb down education. Close all the small companies, empty rural areas. Force people to live in tower blocks in little small, rickety little sections. Smart cities that shut down farms. By the way, Bill Gates is buying up all the farmland. Check it out. Google it. You have a smartphone. Food could be grown in laboratories, which would, in due course, end up being owned by people like Bill Gates. It's also agreed that it's necessary to force the simple-minded citizen to learn and take orders to become compliant slaves, transhuman slaves. And so recycling was invented. It didn't matter all the freshly washed yogurt cartons ended up being transported to countries thousands of miles away to be burnt or buried. The recycling wasn't the point. It was all about compliance, to follow orders. And in America, the events of 9/11 enabled the United States to create some wonderfully oppressive new laws. You remember? Forgot? The threat of weapons of mass destruction enable politicians to take away whatever privacy and freedom we had left. It was a scam. A freaking scam. Big Brother can watch you everywhere. And gave you a reason, and gave us a reason that we bought in on. Sheepy people that took away whatever privacy and freedom we had left. Bits and pieces of terrorism allow other countries to bring in their own little totalitarian, bossy boot laws. And diseases are used as threats too. Oh, AIDS and all those funny influencers, which were real threats that we all had to change our lives and accept orders from those who decided that they were better than us. And that we need to be disappeared. We need to be controlled. We need to be depopulated off the world. This stuff cannot be made up. He goes on to say cars are being targeted as being bad for the environment. And we were told that we had to stop using fossil fuels to start living on sunshine and wind, since neither of these provides enough electricity to get everyone lit light bulbs. Governments started chopping down trees, messing up the climate, and cutting them into bits, calling the resource biomass and burning it. And when objected to what was clearly the beginning of a huge freaking scam, was dismissed as a conspiracy theorist. Oh my God, a conspiracy theorist, and publicly shamed and demonized. You're the devil. Rural living was made damn near possible by letting the roads go to ruin, by running water supplies, by making sure that the broadband was slow as a snail by introducing wild animals into the country areas. The banks decided they would get rid of cash and replace it with a digital system. Billionaires work out ways to change the temperature. Oh, we in Texas, we know about that, don't we? That little week we just had. Control the weather and force us to eat laboratory-made GMO's food. Psychologists were hired to brainwash, to indoctrinate us, and to indoctrinate us all. And police were pushing to demonizing themselves as well as us. ID cards and microchips were promoted as a really good thing. A really good thing. And there is much talk of the need to depopulate the world. So now, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue, and that took us up to the start of 2020. And then we know what happened. They say you make it a march, you're going to march on out the year. But they still need something else, which to control us all. They needed something they could use to terrify us, to scare us, fear porn, to force us to do as we were told. And if you're conscious, even been paying a little bit of attention of what's been going on the last 12, 13, 14 months, you can feel the rest in yourself. You made it this far in this video. Thank you, Vernon Coleman, for that. To share with my people, our people. If you made this far in this video, our video, Inspirational Minutes with David, 21, the agenda. Hit the subscribe button yet again, smash it. Hit the bell notifications. Commit to committing, and I will commit. Do your research. I may have to give you some homework and we can have some quizzes. Talk to me. I am a fly optician. I do help people see. First, love yourself. Because when you first love yourself, because if I love me, because I love me, in return, I love you. And if you love you, you will love me. I love you. I love you in truth. Let's continue to evolve with love, agape love, the agape way. Evolve. Open up your mind. Don't be afraid. And be a critical thinker. Question, research. Do your homework. I love you. I love you in truth. Peace.